All right, so here's my data. This is a recommended way I'd say to set up your data. I have three restaurants: Old Chicago, Papa Murphy's, Black Eyed Peas, and I looked at calorie content for all three categories. While I was looking up calorie content for Old Chicago's, I also chose to add the fat content, so when I have to do my histogram later, I have that category of data. It has to be different than what I make my box plot on. So you can do calories, fat, protein, or carbohydrates for either of the two graphs. I chose calories. Since it's for all three restaurants, that's going to be my box plot, and my fat content is going to be my histogram for Old Chicago's. So for part one, we need to make a histogram. The first thing we need to do is what I did is I set up this table down here of min, quartile 1, medium, quartile 3, and maximum, the values we need to make a box plot. Our Old Chicago's is what we're going to do first. So in Old Chicago's, we're going to type in the formula equals minimum, min, parentheses, and now it needs what are you taking the minimum of? Well, I'm doing it for the calories at Old Chicago. So I highlight that column, close it off with a parenthesis, hit enter, and there's my minimum calorie item at Old Chicago's. Get my first quartile, I just do equals quartile, parentheses, again, the array I want, but here we can see we got to put a comma because it also needs what quartile do we want? Well, we want the first quartile. Notice over here you can see you could do this for all four values, but I find it easier to just type in min and max and median for the other one. So for median, you do equals median of your values, enter, equals quartile of these values. What quartile do I want it? After I hit comma, hit comma, and I want quartile 3. Close that off. I got my third quartile. My max is just equal max, parentheses again, list the numbers there. Okay, so I have the 5 data summary here, min, quartile 1, medium, quartile 3, max, set up there. Next, what Excel really needs to do, it doesn't just make box plots. We got to kind of manipulate some stacked graphs to do this. So what we have to do is we got to take the difference. So if you put equals to and just say equals the original one, okay, and hit enter, it's just going to copy that over. This will make it easier as we do the other ones and we can copy and paste. So for this category, that's that one. For the second one, you want to do equals and do 842, or that the quartile one minus the minimum. We wanted the difference. How far away is 513 to 842? Well, it's 329. And I want to do that for the other values. So how far is this one from this one? How far is quartile 3 from the medium? How far is maximum from your quartile 3? And then I'll have those three values. So what you need to do is we need to go through and go ahead and do that for all three restaurants. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. You can too, and finish that off for your next three restaurants. Alright, so now I went through and I found my min quartile 1, medium quartile 3 for Papa Murphy's, and then I found my differences there for those three. And then my Black Eyed Peas, I went and found my medium, maximum, and quartiles there. And my differences, so what was nice is if I did that as I did before, if I just copy those cells and paste them over here with a control C and a control V for paste, notice it copies the code that it should be. So it's using 290, it's doing 431 minus 290 is 141, and we get those values there. So now that I have all those, what I want to do is I want to highlight all the differences. So I highlight this column, release the left button of my mouse. If I hit Control, I highlight this column, the differences for Papa Murphy's, and I highlight the differences by hitting Control and my left click button there for Black Eyed Peas. Okay, so once I have all three of those graphs tables highlighted, what I want to do is go up to my home button and I want to actually insert and I want to do a graph. So we can do two different types of graphs. We can do a box and whisker graph that will be vertical, or we can do one that will be horizontal. So for this one, I'm just going to go ahead and make them vertical. So I'm going to do the stacked column graph here. Okay, so these are all kind of switched around here. So I prefer working with this as a sheet. So if I go ahead and right click on this, I can move my chart and move it to a new sheet so I get a new tab down here. So I'm going to call this chart box plot. Okay, and I'm going to hit OK. And so now I can start working on this a little in its full screen here. So first thing I want to do is I have this, I only want three categories. I want the three restaurants that I'm dealing with. So I need to switch my rows and columns for my data. So now I'm going to have, this is dealing with my categories for for Old Chicago's. This one was for, oh, I forgot here. What was my second one? Papa Murphy's. And then the last one was the Black Eyed Pea. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is on these blue values, I'm going to go ahead and click on those. And I'm going to right click and say Format Data Series. And over here, what I want to do is, as far as my fill goes, I want to say no fill. And I don't want any box down there. Okay, so next thing what I want to do is on this box here, okay, this represents the distance from my minimum value to my first quartile or my quartile one, so it needs to be a whisker. So I don't want a box, so I'm going to again say no fill. And to actually get this, what we're going to have to do is in our design, we are going to add a chart element. So up here under Chart Tools, go to Add a Chart Element, and down here we're going to add an error bar. And go down here for more error bar options. First thing, go over here and highlight this. So we're talking about our error bars over here. So the error bar options. Okay, the direction. I want to do a minus arrow bar. Okay, and I want it to do a minus error bar of a percentage, and I want it 100%. And hit enter, and I get my whisker there. Okay, so there's my box for my quartile 1 to median, and there's my box for in yellow from my medium to quartile 3. If I want to, I can go over here and change the color. So right now my fill for those, if I hit right click, I can change my fill to maybe red and make those red. And I can come down here, right click, and change my fill to light blue. And you know, whatever colors you want to make them change. And change them as much as you want with that. Okay, so I just made them consistent with the three restaurants. Okay, next what I got to do is I got to get that error bar for these top boxes. So on this one, I don't want a fill. That needs to be a whisker. So I don't want a box there, so I do no fill. And I'm going to again go over here to home, or I'm sorry, my design and my chart tools. Add a chart element, error bars, more error bar options. Click on that. And then I'm going over to make sure it's highlighted over here for vertical error bars. And I want a plus this time arrow bar, and I want a percentage, and I want a 100% error bar. Okay. Maybe I want a minus. So try minus. It needs to be connected there for your error bar. Alright, now that I got my error bars here to be my whiskers, I got my box plots, so now I got to do some technical things. For the series and format, I really don't care about this, so I'm just going to delete this. I don't want 1, 2, and 3 here, but I want to go ahead and have the restaurant titles so I know which box plot goes with which. So I'm going to go up to here, go to Design, select Data, and I don't want it to be 1, 2, and 3 in my horizontal axis label, so I'm going to edit it. And I'm going to go to my sheet, and I want it to say Old Chicago's, and I'm going to hold down Control, so as I click my next left click, that stays highlighted. Now Papa Murphy stays highlighted. Move this out of the way, hit Control again, and Black Eyed Peas is highlighted. And now, when I hit OK, those 3 categories will come up, and I hit OK. And now I can see that this box plot is for Old Chicago's, Papa Murphy's, Black Eyed Peas. Next thing, what am I talking about over here? Am I talking about beans? No, I'm talking about calories. So I want to go over here and set axis title, and I just want a vertical axis title. So that vertical axis title is going to be calories. Okay, and then my chart title up here is going to be box plot comparing calories. Okay, and there is your box plot for your 3 restaurants. The last piece that you have to do for your video is to be able to, or for your part 1 of your assignment, is you need to be able to do mean and standard deviation. Well, that's relatively easy. So for your categories here, you can just go below it, and under this you can do equals mean. Average. And you do average of the numbers that you're talking about. And you get your average there and do equals STDEV for standard deviation, parentheses, and remember all those calculations we had to do in class to get standard deviation? We just do that, and pow, it gives us our standard deviation. Okay, so then I can go through and do that for all of them. Average for those, and I can do equals of for all of those. And similarly for my Black Eyed Pea, it's going to be equal average. Go highlight your data series, close that off, and again, standard STDEV deviation for those data series. Close it off, and you get your mean and standard deviation for all 3 of your values. And you can copy your titles and put it all in your data set. Alright, so that should get you through part 1 of the assignment.